Hi, and welcome to the Greenwood Genetics Center. We're thrilled to have you join our organization. My name is Lori Bassett. I'm the Director of Communications here at GGC and want to take the next few minutes to just provide you a little bit of background about the Greenwood Genetics Center and an overview of some of the activities and programs that we're involved in. I want to start out talking a little bit about our mission. So the Greenwood Genetics Center is a nonprofit institute organized to provide clinical genetic services, diagnostic laboratory testing, educational programs and resources, and research in the field of medical genetics. Our vision statement, which you see here on this slide, gives you a little insight about where we want to go as an organization in the future. The Greenwood Genetics Center wants to be a center of excellence in medical genetics, serving as a resource for anyone who needs genetic services or information, and working to reduce the prevalence and impact of genetic disorders. So over the next few minutes, I want to tell you a little bit about the history of the Greenwood Genetics Center, how we came to be, and how we've grown over the years. We'll talk about our organization and our structure. We'll touch on the culture of Greenwood Genetics Center, and then talk a little bit on the business side and funding at the end. So the Greenwood Genetics Center was founded in 1974 by Dr. Roger Stevenson and Dr. Hal Taylor, who were friends and fellows together at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Dr. Stevenson was connected with Mr. Jim Self here in Greenwood, South Carolina, who was a visionary in the business world. Mr. Self connected him with some of his contacts at the state level, particularly the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. And between Mr. Self and the state, they put up the starting funds for the Greenwood Genetics Center. And one of Mr. Self's stipulations with that gift was that the center be located here in Greenwood, South Carolina. Over the years, since 1974, our center has grown tremendously. The center's first building was occupied in 1975 on Spring Street here in Greenwood. It contained a clinic, a very small lab, a library, and some office space. We moved on to our current campus here on Gregor Mendel Circle in 1980. That's when the first laboratory building was completed on the current campus. That facility is now the Genetic Education Center. The second building, the new clinic building, was built in 1984, which has now been converted into our administrative offices. In 1988, we opened satellite offices in Greenville and Columbia. Up until that point, our clinicians had been traveling around the state to see patients, and the opening of these satellite offices made access better for patients who lived in those areas. So we began to expand our statewide presence. The JC Self Research Institute opened in 1996 here on the Greenwood campus. And in 2004, we added our third satellite office in Florence, followed by a Charleston office in 2007. In 2009, the South Carolina Center for the Treatment of Genetic Disorders opened on the Greenwood campus, and the clinic and laboratory divisions moved into that facility. In 2018, the Clemson Center for Human Genetics opened on the Greenwood campus. We've been a longtime partner with Clemson University, and they're doing genetics research in collaboration with a lot of our researchers as well. We're continuing to see a lot of growth here at the Greenwood Genetics Center. A few years ago, we started what's called the Greenwood Genetics Center Partnership Campus, which is an initiative to expand other organizations to partner with the Greenwood Genetics Center and have facilities here in Greenwood. So the Clemson Center for Human Genetics is the first tenant on that campus. We've also recently partnered with Project Hope Foundation, which is a nonprofit provider of services for those who have autism. So we hope and expect to see this partnership campus grow a lot in the coming years. So our organization, how is the Greenwood Genetics Center structured? We've already talked about the Greenwood Genetics Center as a nonprofit, but we are officially what's called a nonprofit organization with members. The member of our organization is MUSC, or the Medical University of South Carolina. GGC and MUSC entered into a formal agreement in 2022 to work together to improve genetics access and services for individuals across South Carolina. So we're sharing resources, we're sharing talent on a variety of projects to improve that access to advanced diagnostic technology and clinical trials, educational initiatives, and lots of other projects are a part of that collaboration. The Greenwood Genetics Center is also governed by a board of directors. We have a 12-member board of directors. 6 of those members are appointed by us, and 6 of those members are appointed by MUSC. They have responsibilities such as approving the annual budget, reviewing our strategic directions and plans, maintaining responsibility for compliance and proper business practices, and fiduciary oversight of the Greenwood Genetics Center. We also have a second 11-member, what we call the GGC Holdings Board. This is a board that is responsible for appointing those 6 GGC appointees to the main board, and they also exercise certain veto powers with this collaboration. You can meet our board members on our website. Now a little bit about the structure of the center. The Greenwood Genetics Center is led by our president and CEO, Dr. Steve Skinner. Under Dr. Skinner, there are approximately 200 employees statewide across all of our offices. This is a very small representation of our organizational structure. If you want to see the full organizational chart, you can log into your Paylocity account and you can find it there. But Dr. Skinner, as president and CEO, oversees the Chief Genomics Officer, who oversees the clinics, the diagnostic labs, the research, and the education divisions here at GGC. And then we have a Chief Administration Officer who oversees the business side or the administrative side of the organization, including finance, HR, facilities, and some of those departments. So now I want to talk about a little more detail about those 4 different divisions at the Greenwood Genetics Center, and we'll start with the clinics. The clinic side, of course, is where we are seeing patients. We are working with patients across the lifespan to provide compassionate care, to try to get them answers and provide treatments that will improve their quality of life. The bulk of our patients here at GGC fall into that pediatric category. So they are children who maybe have developmental delays or intellectual disability, autism, birth defects. We also see patients through our metabolic treatment program. So individuals who have newborn screening and are identified with a rare genetic condition through that newborn test will be followed through our metabolic clinics, where we provide counseling and treatment for those disorders. We also see adult patients in our clinics. That includes a cancer clinic for patients who maybe have a personal history of cancer or a strong family history of cancer, and they're concerned that it could be hereditary. We also see patients who are at risk of a wide variety of other adult onset conditions that may have a genetic component, things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and diabetes. Like mentioned before, we do have those satellite offices across the state, and those are clinical locations. So the 5 offices you can see here on this map are, of course, Greenwood, as well as Greenville, Columbia, Florence, and Charleston, to provide improved access for patients all across South Carolina. Through those offices, we provide in-person consultations, telegenetics visits, as well as asynchronous e-visits to provide a lot of different ways for patients to be seen that are convenient for them. We also, some of our clinics are involved in some clinical trials for new medications that might be coming out for different genetic conditions. The second division here at GGC are the diagnostic laboratories. Our diagnostic labs process between 20 and 25,000 samples every year. We get a lot of referrals from the patients that we see here at the GGC, but we also get referrals from outside of our organization and even from other countries. Our labs are both CLIA and CAP certified to ensure quality assurance. We have 3 laboratories within our diagnostic labs. The cytogenetics lab provides your traditional chromosome analysis or karyotyping. They do FISH analysis, they have microarrays, they have a newer technology called optical genome mapping to help improve the ability to achieve a diagnosis for patients. Our molecular lab includes testing for gene sequencing as well as whole genome sequencing, which a lot of our patients are receiving these days. And there's also a novel test there called EpiSign, which is looking at methylation and how genes are turned on or off. The third lab is the biochemical lab, where we look at enzymes and proteins and small molecules to help make a diagnosis for patients who have metabolic conditions. That laboratory is also the one that is most closely associated with the newborn screening metabolic treatment program I mentioned earlier. So babies who are identified by newborn screening will have their confirmatory follow-up testing here at GGC, and then we'll move over to our clinics for their clinical care. The third division here at GGC is our education programs. Our education division has a wide, broad mission working with students starting in middle school all the way up through healthcare providers. One of our most visible programs is our outreach education program, which includes 2 vehicles, the Gene Machine, which you see here, which is a 40-foot custom mobile science laboratory, and then we have the Helix Express, which is a cargo van. Both of those vehicles allow us to go into schools and to provide innovative hands-on activities that not only teach genetics, but also give students experience using laboratory technologies, and we talk a little bit about careers in the field of genetics as well. So those two vehicles are on the road during the school year, visiting schools across the state. We also provide workshops for teachers during the summer to help them stay abreast of the latest news and developments in genetics. We also have summer camps for middle and high school students to spend a week here at the Greenwood Genetics Center, having a lot of fun and learning a little bit about genetics at the same time. For healthcare professionals, we have a medical genetics training program, which is either a 2 or 3 year program for MDs or PhDs who want to further their specialization into medical genetics and become certified to either provide medical care for genetics patients or to run a diagnostic laboratory in the future. We also have quarterly case review, which is 4 times a year. We get together and share interesting or difficult cases to help each other find diagnoses for our patients and to learn a little bit from our colleagues. And then once a year, we have the annual South Carolina Genetics Conclave that all employees are welcome to attend. This is a one-day symposium on a different topic in the field of genetics. We have internal and external speakers who will come and share their expertise. The fourth division is research. Again, like the others, our research area has a very broad area of interest. They have a couple of different areas that they work on. One of those is basic research on rare diseases. So our researchers have an interest in lysosomal storage disorders and congenital disorders of glycosylation, along with some other rare genetic conditions. The basic research is basically to understand how these genes cause disease, how the disease impacts the body, and ultimately how we can treat or eventually one day cure some of these conditions. Our researchers are also very focused on functional studies. Functional studies sometimes become necessary when we do genetic testing for a patient and we find an uncertain variant in that testing. We're not really sure what it means. Using several different types of experiments, our functional studies program is able, in some cases, to determine if that genetic variant is truly the cause of the patient's symptoms. One of the technologies that we use is a model organism called zebrafish that are housed in our Allen aquaculture facility. So we can use zebrafish to model human genetic disorders to better understand if this is the cause for our patients' issues, and in some cases even how to treat them. Another program in our research division is the South Carolina Birth Defects Prevention Program. This program has been around for over 30 years and has been very, very successful in reducing the prevalence of a specific type of birth defect called neural tube defects within South Carolina. Neural tube defects are serious birth defects of the brain and spine, and we used to have a very high incidence here in South Carolina. We do know now that women who take folic acid before pregnancy and early in pregnancy can significantly lower the chance of having a baby with a neural tube defect. So this program is focused on educating women who are at childbearing age, as well as their healthcare providers, on the importance of taking this vitamin before and prior to pregnancy. And you can see how successful it's been in this chart, showing you the decline over the years in these birth defects. And what that really means in human terms is that we are now seeing about 70 babies born in South Carolina healthy every year who 30 years ago would have been born with one of these devastating conditions. A newer addition to our research program is the Carol Campbell Alzheimer's Initiative. We are working with a biotech company, MitoSense, as well as the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs on this collaborative project to better understand the role of mitochondria in the development and progression of Alzheimer's and investigating potential treatments for that condition. So we have all of these 4 divisions, and one of the really unique things about the Greenwood Genetics Center is how closely and collaboratively these 4 divisions work together. And they all work together under our strategic goal or strategic plan that we call the Precision Medicine Initiative. So this is something that we have recently instituted that is really overarching all of the different activities of the Greenwood Genetics Center. The Precision Medicine Initiative, basically, we want to get the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. And the way that we're going to accomplish this is through what we're calling the 4 A's. That's access, analysis, answers, and action. So the first A, access, is making sure that patients don't have barriers to get to our services. They have access to those, whether those be geographical or financial or childcare or work schedules. We want to have workarounds for those so that the patients who need our services can get our services. We can have the most innovative and important treatment for a condition, but if a patient can't access that treatment, it's of no use. So access is very important at the beginning. Analysis is where we want to take all of the genomic data that we have compiled over the years and use that data to help improve our ability to make a diagnosis for patients. So we have a data warehouse, and through our analysis efforts, we also are looking at novel testing technologies, new things, so that when we do traditional genetic testing and don't get an answer, we have some other novel technologies to try out to try to get a diagnosis for patients. The third A is answers. Under Answers comes our Genomic Discovery Program. The Genomic Discovery Program is an undiagnosed disease program where we take patients who have had all this genetic testing done and still have no answer. We have a dedicated collaborative team with our Genomic Discovery Program who identify new technologies that might be helpful to try in some of these patients. They also work closely with those functional studies to better understand what those uncertain variants mean. Can we get a diagnosis through some of those functional studies? And ultimately, the goal of all of this is that last A of action. Action means we don't want to just get a diagnosis. We want to get an effective treatment, therapy, or in some days even a cure for some of these conditions that our patients are struggling with. So the Precision Medicine Initiative really does guide all of the activities that happen here at the Greenwood Genetics Center. Now I want to switch over just briefly to talk about the culture. Hopefully, I know you've not been here very long, but hopefully you are starting to feel the culture of the Greenwood Genetics Center already just in your early interactions with your colleagues. But I wanted to highlight these points that we have decided are really, really vital to our culture. These traits are by no means fully descriptive of the Greenwood Genetics Center, but they are traits that we have identified that are core to who we are and what our mission is, and traits that we will not compromise on. The first is care and compassion. We want to make sure that the patients who are seeking out our help get the best care and get the most compassionate care that they can, as many of them are struggling with challenging circumstances. Respect and integrity is very, very important here as well, not only between our employees and those we serve, but also between colleagues. We want to make sure everyone's treated with the respect and integrity that they deserve. And the third point of our culture statement is quality in service. We want to be sure that we are providing the most state-of-the-art, the highest quality services to the patients, to the students, to the teachers, to everyone that we serve, to make sure that they're getting what they need from their encounter with the Greenwood Genetics Center. Now let's go over and talk a little bit more about the business side and the funding of the center. We've mentioned already that we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 organization. The fiscal year for the Greenwood Genetics Center runs from July 1st to June 30th. And here on this slide, you can see some of the different sources of our income. They're both public and private sources, including state funding, fee income from charges that we send out for testing and for clinical consultations. Our laboratories have contracts with pharmaceutical and industry for various projects. We receive grant funding, both federal and private philanthropy funding. And then we have the GGC Foundation, which is raising funds for all the different programs of the Greenwood Genetics Center. And those funds also come with a match from the Medical University of South Carolina. On the other side there, you can see the expenses of the GGC. And what I really mainly want to point out there is that personnel, that is you, make up the bulk of our funding. Over 60% of our annual budget goes to personnel, salaries, and benefits. So I just mentioned the GGC Foundation. I'll give you a little more information about that. And you will hear soon from our Executive Director, Katie Nell Keener, to further introduce the foundation to you. But the foundation is a separate 501c3 of the Greenwood Genetics Center. It is the fundraising arm of the center. Their big project right now is the Care Reimagine campaign, which started out with our 50th anniversary in 2024, but it's a multi-year campaign to directly support the Precision Medicine Initiative, those 4 A's that we talked about. The foundation also holds events throughout the year. These are both fundraising events and awareness events to help other folks understand what it is that we do here at the center. Our signature event is Race the Helix. Every year we have 2 Race the Helix events, one here on our Greenwood campus and one in Greenville called Race the Helix Upstate. These events are a 5K race and a 1-mile fun run or walk to again raise awareness and raise funds for the center. Race the Helix was started by this family that you see here, the Shennels, who wanted to give back to the center for the compassionate and expert care that they received when their daughter Riley was born. So the Shennels are an amazing family who continue to be very involved in Race the Helix organization every single year, and we're really, really proud to have them involved with that. Another event that we've been doing annually is Keys for Care. This is a Dueling Pianos fundraiser, lots of fun that we have to share stories about the Greenwood Genetics Center, but also get together, have some great food, some great music, and raise some money for the center. So as we wrap up here, I wanted to share a couple of other things just for your information to maybe help your transition be a little bit smoother as you join our team. I want you to be aware of the employee portal that is located on SharePoint. So you should already have access to this, and it's a wealth of information there, which includes benefit information. Your employee handbook can be found there. You can see upcoming events. You can find out birthdays and anniversaries of your colleagues. We have Gregor's List, which is our version of a Craigslist if you have something to buy or sell. It also is a place where you can contact IT or our facilities team should you have any issues or requests for them. And a part of the SharePoint portal that I wanted to point out is our digital directory. This is a wonderful resource that you can search for things like forms or different resources or recordings or meeting information. It also includes our employee phone list and directory with photos, so you can start to get to know your colleagues as well. If there's something you're looking for, you're not sure where to find it, ask your colleagues, ask your supervisor, but this is also a resource that might help you locate it pretty quickly. So on that, and on behalf of the entire faculty and staff of the Greenwood Genetics Center, I again want to welcome you. Should you have any needs from us as you get acclimated to your new position, please feel free to talk to your supervisor, reach out to our HR team, or contact me directly and we'll be glad to help. Again, welcome.